Okay, talk to us about Nymbl. And by the way, for the listeners, right, I just want to make sure that we give out the right URL. So it's nymblscience.com, and it's NYMBL, nymblscience.com, right?
That's right. That's it.
And,
Yeah.
and it is an app available right on Apple and Google and all the Play Store and all that stuff.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So the core mission of Nymbl is to challenge the belief that aging is less. Our first value is that we're older adult advocates and champions. All too often, older adults are kind of segmented and placed in a different part of society, especially in the medical world. It's sort of, you're older, go over here, do this. I'm going to tell you what to do. Oh, that's just you getting old. That's just something you have to deal with. Well, getting old isn't a disease. It's a condition that we go through as we age. The wants and needs of older adults are very similar to ours. They're just older. They want the same direction over their care. They want control of their health data. They want to be able to see things. They want to be able to improve on their own. And we're still stuck in this mindset in the healthcare world that older adults can't use technology. They can't control their own destiny. They need to be dictated to. And that's just not true. So we're out there to help older adults take control of their health and well-being and live fuller and longer lives. And the first way we've started going down that path is through preventing falls. And we talk a lot about preventing 1 million falls. And the reason we say 1 million is nobody else is aiming that high. I mean, you look at existing best practice, which is we send older adults to an in-person balance class at, say, the YMCA or something like that. And that's great. Those are great classes, right? The challenge is you've got 12 people that attend. And you have 1 in 3 older adults falling each year. So you've got something like 20 million falls in America. And, about half of 1% are attending a balance class. So you've got a huge mismatch in terms of how many people we can reach. So kind of the founding idea behind Nymbl by a clinician, Dr. JP Farsi, was that we can take this idea of, I have some ideas on how to train balance. I've done this clinically for a while. It involves the brain and the body working together. Older adults increasingly now have technology. About 2 in 3 now have a smart device in their home. Let's deliver it in their home, just like you or I want to get stuff in our home. We don't want to go to the YMCA for a class if we can do it at home. So let's empower people to do balance training in bite-sized intervals and kind of move on from there and control their own health. So that's kind of the idea behind what we're doing.
And so you download the app. Do you pay for it? Does it cost? Talk to me about using it, like daily kind of use.
Yeah, great question. So right now the app is only available through certain insurance plans. So our big partners are Medicare Advantage plans, and there's certain things I can make public and certain things I can't. So I can't quite list every name. But if you're interested in Nymbl, talk to your Medicare Advantage plan, and you might be covered. In which case it's free. We have kind of the idea that older adults shouldn't be paying for this. It should be the people financially responsible. So we look to the healthcare plan to cover the cost. And then kind of in a great story, we're also available to New Zealand, to the country of New Zealand. So we have a deal with their single payer system through ACC, which is their accident insurance company, that anybody in the country of New Zealand can receive Nymbl free of charge. And the way it's used is sort of on in the way that's right for the individual. So there's kind of a spectrum of how engaged people want to be on their balance. Some people just want to test. Hey, I want to see how I'm doing. Compare me to some normative data, and then I'll come back in 3 months and check my balance, and that's great. We've got somebody monitoring something. They can see how they're doing. They can see if they're deteriorating or improving. We've got the other side of it is people who want to work on their balance every single day. And our program's designed to be done in kind of bite-sized 10-minute intervals. Why 10 minutes is because that's what people will do. It's what the majority of people do. And you can achieve real gains by working on something for bite-sized amounts of times every day of the week, 3 days a week, a couple times a week. So we encourage people to engage at the level that's right for them, because any amount of work on balance is going to improve your condition.
Is it like, is there a screen like watching me, measuring me? Like how's it, what am I inputting? How does that work?
Yeah. Great question. So we use basically right now mobile devices that have a bunch of sensors inside them. So a typical daily experience would be you'd pick up your device, you'd log in, and you'd get a series of exercises for the day. Call it 5 to 7 activities that last 30 to 60 seconds a piece or something. Imagine a standing weight shift, a short lunge, maybe some sit to stands, that kind of thing. Nothing that's that would be considered a circus trick. We're working on very fundamental movements. And the key to what we do is we pair those physical challenges with cognitive challenges at the same time, because balance is about the brain and the body working together. This is, the more you think about it, the more intuitive that'll sound, because I'm sure at some point, Steve, you've lost your balance, you've stumbled. Did you have time to think about it? You either catch yourself or you go down. And that's the challenge with just working on the strength aspect of balance. If you go to a balance class, a lot of times you're just sitting there and you're doing kind of strength exercises, which are great. But improving leg strength is only part of it. You have to improve that reflex. You have to be able to respond when your stimulus is such that you've lost your balance. And so what we do is train the brain and the body together. So we get you distracted by that cognitive challenge. 100% of your cognition is focused on unscrambling words, doing a math problem, remembering pictures, seeing a bunch of balloons and telling which one was the last one that popped, what color was it. And you're doing that movement at the same time. What that does is, because your consciousness, your cognition is focused on that task, that cognitive task, it forces the body to invoke the cerebellum or your reflexive center in learning that movement. So we're actually training the reflexive aspect of balance.
I see. Very interesting. This really hit home for me because I have an 84-year-old father who has fallen several times. He lives in a different state, and my brother kind of helps a little bit, but he still lives by himself. And he has fallen several times. And guess what? The fire department has to come pick him up.
Right.
Which is pretty standard, right? I mean, I think because the fire guy, the firemen are the only ones strong enough to actually lift up a 260-pound guy, right?
Yep. Yeah. No, I'm glad you mentioned that, because one of our local partners here in Denver is the Arvada Fire Department. And it's actually a new market we're exploring, because most fire departments and most municipalities have some sort of community benefit budget for a program like this. And when you look at the fire departments, a lot of their calls are just like you said, to pick up people who have fallen. And it's terrible. It's a terrible thing to go do. And it's a drain on resources. You don't want your fire truck with 8 firefighters going out to pick somebody off the ground if you can prevent it. So that's an area that we're exploring, and we've gotten some great uptake on that so far.
I saw that posted in your news. Yeah, I mean, I guess, so how does that work, right? The fire department is funded by the taxpayers in the community, but those resources are being used. I mean, yeah, surely if you're telling the taxpayer that, hey, the fire department can shift resources and not be tied up doing this, if you'll fund this app. I mean, I don't know exactly how you're tying that all together, but I definitely can see the benefit. I understand.
That's the idea is, as a taxpayer, you want your resources going to the best possible use. And you're trying to make the fire department more efficient. The fire department loves it because it helps with goodwill in the community, right? Who doesn't want to provide a free fall prevention program to their residents that people will use and love, and that helps people out? So we think it's a win-win all around.
Yeah, I definitely could see that. Yeah, I've thought about that many times. When my brother calls me and says, "Hey, the fire department had to come out again," I'm thinking to myself, okay, these guys probably just they're like, how many times do they want to come do that?
Right.
How about the emotional, or I don't know if emotion, how about the motivational aspect of getting an elderly person to use the app, right? Like a lot of times seniors are super close-minded to anything new.
Sure.
And
No,
I know, yep, go ahead.
I think that's a great question. I think that, one of the fundamental motivators is that older adults tend to care about 2 things. It's number one, their mental abilities. Like, I don't want dementia or Alzheimer's. I'm going to do everything I can to prevent that. The second thing is I want my physical independence. I want to keep my mobility. So balance and falling is right up there. When you ask an older adult, what are your 2 biggest health concerns? Balance is almost one of the top 2, almost always one of the top 2.
Okay.
So people are intrinsically motivated to work on it. Now, the challenge is that up until now, every program required you to go out to a class. I mean, that's the way it was done, is sort of one-on-one physical therapy, which is expensive and time consuming, or in-person classes, which are time consuming. And, find your average 85-year-old who wants to go to the gym. First of all, the people at risk for falling, and the people who want to, that Venn diagram of I'm at risk for falling and I feel comfortable going to a gym. doesn't overlap a lot. And then you're talking about transportation, right? Like
Right,
on a winter
transportation.
day, it's icy outside. I'm worried, how am I going to get there? Who's going to pick me up? Maybe I'm not driving anymore. How do I even get to a place like that? So I think that's one aspect of it, is we just make it easier, more convenient, and people can do it in the comfort of their own home. So they're not worried about, anytime you go to a class like this, I'm sure you've been to an exercise class at some point in your life, or a gym. There's always Jane in the corner who's the Olympic ager, right? She's sitting there doing cartwheels and you can barely stand on your feet. That's not comfortable to be in that situation. So I think that's the first part. The second part is we make the technology accessible to older adults. And what we found is that older adults can use technology if they understand how to use it, and there's clear instructions. If you open your average app today, you open Apple Music, there's 4 things on the bottom of the bar, there's 4 things up here, there's a zillion things to click on. And yeah, that gets confusing for people who aren't used to interacting with technology. We make our software so that there's one button on each screen. It's giant. The font is as big as we can make it. And if you don't know what to do, something blinks and you press that button and you go to the next page. So it's very linear, it's very progressive, and it makes it in a way that any individual could understand what they need to do next. So we remove that barrier of complexity, which prevents people from doing some things.
If you think today's tip or guest interview can help someone you know, please share this with them. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to our channel and hit the like button. The Riderflex Podcast features entrepreneurs, business executives, and the stories behind how they got there, as well as daily tips on career advice and job interviewing. You can visit riderflex.com to learn more about us and get information and pricing on the recruiting and consulting services we provide. Thanks so much for listening, and have a great day.